Indonesia, home to the richest reefs on the planet. Warm, shallow seas bloom in a kaleidoscope of shapes and colors. Plunging island walls explode with life. In this underwater oasis, with the world's highest marine diversity, Indonesia's waters contain more coral species than any place else on Earth.
In some football field size areas, we've been able to count up to 300 species of coral. Literally 5 times the coral species that you can find in the entire Caribbean.
But Indonesia's marine rainforest is under threat from the ravages of illegal and destructive fishing.
Without question, bomb fishing has been the biggest scourge of Indonesia's reefs, really, for the last 70+ years.
I just feel that as humans, we have to take care of nature. We can't just damage it.
The fight is on to protect the Amazon of the seas. An ocean wanderer arrives on an Indonesian reef to rest and refuel. This hawksbill turtle will travel thousands of miles in her lifetime, migrating between nesting beaches and foraging grounds. She pokes her narrow head into each crack and crevice to fetch her favorite meal, sea sponge. Sponges are like weeds. They can overgrow on corals and suffocate the reef. This hawksbill will consume more than 1,000 pounds of sponge in just 1 year. She uses her sharp bird-like beak to prune this coral garden and shares her leftovers with others, maintaining the delicate balance of one of the most productive ecosystems on Earth. These waters are home to 6 of the world's 7 marine turtle species. And 37% of the world's tropical fish species. No place on Earth is more vibrant, more diverse than Indonesia's underwater rainforest.
There's just so much going on, so much different form and so much different color. It's sensory overload to dive on these reefs.
Marine biologist Dr. Mark Erdman works to protect the diversity of marine life in these waters.
I started getting into coral reef fish work in about 2004 when I joined Conservation International. And that was with my colleague Jerry Allen, who was one of the world's most renowned coral reef fish scientists. I've, with Jerry, discovered over 100 new species. I think it's 131 new fish species. which is really quite spectacular when you think about it. I've done over 10,000 dives in this region, and I still see new things on every single dive. The diversity just blows me away.
It's up to Mark and his team to defend what is now recognized as the richest reef on Earth. Many places in the world claim to have the highest marine biodiversity. Conservation International has proven Indonesia to be the rightful owner of this title. In 2008, Mark's colleague, Dr. Gary Allen, conducted a survey in the islands of Raja Ampat, a remote eastern corner of the Indonesian archipelago, more than 1,000 miles south of the Philippines. He counted 374 species of reef fish in a single dive, a world record.
That's just off the charts in terms of the marine biodiversity. There's no place on the planet like that.
Coral reefs make up about 20,000 square miles of Indonesia's underwater landscape, an area the size of Costa Rica. Indonesia's reefs stretch across an expanse of ocean marine biologists call the Coral Triangle, an area recognized as the center of the planet's marine biodiversity. Indonesia's 17,000 islands stretch from Malaysia in the west to Papua New Guinea in the east, more than 1,000 miles south of the Philippines. An imaginary boundary surrounds these nations, outlining the Coral Triangle. The Indonesian archipelago sits right in the middle of it.
This truly is kind of the bloody beating heart of the Coral Triangle right here.
Indonesia's geography, warm, shallow seas, and powerful currents create an ideal environment for coral growth. Every coral, like this staghorn, is made up of tiny transparent animals called polyps, invisible to the naked eye. Polyps have soft, delicate bodies, similar to jellyfish. They use the calcium and bicarbonate in seawater to build limestone shelters that encase their fragile bodies. Polyps connect to one another to create colonies in the thousands. Slowly, these tiny engineers lay down the foundation of this coral city. At the reef's edge, coral coats island walls as far down as the sun can reach. This submerged city is solar-powered. Algae living in the polyps convert sunlight into the oxygen and nutrients polyps need. Over millions of years, colonies of polyps expand and join others, creating a coral reef that acts as a single organism. Coral reefs are the largest living structures on the planet, and and the only living structures visible from space. Each animal claims its own bit of real estate on Indonesia's crowded reefs. An emperor fish tucks behind colorful coral. An alligator fish lies motionless, camouflaged against the seabed. A 6-foot-long moray eel peers out from the shadows of its cave. Tiny glassfish storm the coral, crowding between branches in search of shelter. Larger fish occupy the base. In this competitive housing market, every nook and crevice is prime territory. Because danger is never far away. Larger predators patrol the foggy city limits in search of easy prey. Barracudas are built to hunt. A thin, long body propels them through the water at speeds of up to 25 miles an hour. They are ferocious, opportunistic eaters, willing to take on almost any fish on the reef. But they too have predators. A hammerhead looms in the distance. A powerful sight that has unfortunately become rare in these waters.
It's quite difficult to go anywhere in Indonesia and see large sharks anymore. They're pretty much gone. The tiger sharks, for instance, are gone. The oceanic whitetips, most of the hammerheads. Many places it's very difficult to see them.
An estimated 100 million sharks are killed every year. Most are killed for their fins alone. A growing demand for shark fin soup, an Asian delicacy, is the driving force behind illegal shark fishing. Each year, nearly 8,000 tons of shark fins are shipped to restaurants worldwide. The weight of the Eiffel Tower in fins. For decades, Indonesia was responsible for 15% of the world's total shark catch. Abraham Cinematographer is a researcher working with Conservation International to protect Indonesia's sharks and rays.
Indonesia and shark have the long histories in terms of fisheries. So Indonesia in the past 35 years has been one of the biggest shark fishing nation in the world.
Abam and his team use remote underwater cameras to monitor shark populations.
Basically, we drop remote cameras underwater with a pole with live fish bait on it. So hopefully we'll attract a couple more shark species in front of the cameras, and we could document those different type of sharks and see how many of them actually swimming around those areas.
Their findings reveal that not all hope is lost for Indonesia's sharks.
We found a couple of new records of shark species in Raja Ampat that haven't been documented before. Those are snaggletooth sharks and also smooth hammerheads. Nowadays, we've been seeing the population of sharks bounce back after being so bad in the past 10 years.
A recent government push to protect Indonesia's waters is a big part of the reason shark populations are back on the rise. In 2013, the Indonesian government established the first shark sanctuary in the Coral Triangle and adopted a ban on shark finning within its marine protected areas. Since then, the export of shark parts in Indonesia has decreased by nearly 50%. But there's still a lot of work to do.
The movement starts from the bottom, from the local peoples, the dive resorts, the tourist operators, and then captured by the local government of Raja Ampat.
Max Ammer is a resort owner and a supporter of Conservation International's cause. Max has been diving in Raja Ampat since 1989. He opened the first dive resort here with the goal of keeping these waters as pristine as they were on his first dive.
From day one, we worked on conservation. So we just said, sorry, we don't accept shark finning here. And we took all the lines out of the water. So they got pretty angry with us, but we didn't mind, we just did it. And it helped. And slowly, slowly, we saw the number increasing.
Max works with locals to patrol the area and ensure no illegal fishermen exploit these waters. His team uses speedboats for routine checks around the islands. With so little water traffic, the unfamiliar boats of illegal fishermen are easy to spot and intercept.
The patrol boats are actually built here on this island by local people. And then Conservation International, they train local people to be rangers. So that's very good because the local people know all the boats.
We started protecting it a long time ago, about 25 years ago. We actually didn't even know if it made a big change. And then all of a sudden we saw a difference.
Blacktip sharks are now coming back to these waters. The species is easy to identify by the black tips on their fins.
A lot of people don't know, but first blacktip was discovered in the Raja Ampat. It was during a French expedition about 150 years ago. So the first blacktip ever seen was from this area, but they're spread all over the world, so they're very common in many places.
Sharks are the reef's apex predator. Without them, the entire food chain collapses. Sharks are efficient hunters. They prey on old, sick, and weak fish, maintaining the overall health of the population. Sharks can detect 1 drop of blood in 1 million drops of water and can spot small moving prey from as far as 10 feet. Something Max got to see firsthand as the sharks returned to Raja Ampat.
Yeah, it was actually a coincidence because having a resort, we had kitchen waste, and I'm especially talking about fish waste. So we decided, why not throw it in the sea? The fish can eat it. And to our surprise, dozens and dozens of sharks showed up straight away. You hear stories that sharks immediately come when there's blood in the water. It is unbelievable. Within half a minute, there's some sharks. I mean, I don't know where they come from. I know the stories, but it goes fast like lightning.
Years of conservation work are finally paying off.
So from almost not seeing a shark, you just have sharks everywhere. Every dive you'll see a few, so that's pretty amazing. And that's the way the reef is supposed to be.
The reef by Max's resort now has one of the healthiest populations of black-tip sharks in the region.
I just feel that as humans we have to take care of nature. We can just damage it. And you have to try to be as much as possible in harmony with nature.
Humans do have their place in the reef's food chain. For generations, Indonesia's fishermen have lived in harmony with the ocean, catching just enough fish to feed their village. At least 20 million Indonesians depend on fisheries for their livelihood. Small fishing villages, like this one, dot the world's second longest coastline. From a young age, children learn to make a living on the water. Fishermen pass on traditional methods and equipment to the next generation. They set up wicker traps on the seabed to supplement the daily catch. And take to the seas in wooden canoes, as they have for thousands of years. But foreign fishermen and Indonesians in competition with larger vessels have taken a different and more destructive approach, one that ravages Indonesia's reefs. In some parts of Indonesia, illegal fishermen drop bombs in the water, blowing corals to pieces. A devastating sight, still common in unprotected waters. Fishing with explosives has destroyed as much as 80% of the reef in some places.
Without question, bomb fishing has been the biggest scourge of Indonesia's reefs, really, for the last 70 plus years. It's really been since World War II that they've been doing this. The technique is very simple. It's the idea that you use an explosive dropped into the water to stun and kill large numbers of fish.
But the blast kills far more fish than those harvested. Nearly 2/3 sink to the bottom, unclaimed. The effect on the reef itself is even worse. That's because coral takes time to grow. Like a human brain at the bottom of the ocean, this massive coral grows taller than the average person. But brain coral grows just 1/10 of an inch per year. Human hair grows this much in just 1 week. Branch corals like staghorn develop much quicker. Staghorn can grow as much as 8 inches per year. It is the fastest growing coral. But it's still not fast enough to keep pace with the damage done by illegal bomb fishing. A path of destruction was left behind on this recently bombed reef. A reef needs 5 to 10 years to recover from a single bomb. Repeat bombing reduces reefs to rubble fields that take decades to rebuild. But the reef does have its ways of recovering. Parrotfish are integral to the health and resilience of the reef. use beak-like teeth to chomp on coral. Every bite opens up a piece of real estate for new corals to grow. More importantly, parrotfish graze on the fast-growing algae that coats the reef, preventing coral growth, keeping the algae blooms in check. In just 1 year, each parrotfish consumes as much as 5 tons of coral that is converted into sand. A small shoal of parrotfish can fill an entire dump truck with sand in just 1 month. The sand processed by parrotfish eventually settles to the bottom to create another habitat. For the blue-spotted stingray, it's a hunting ground. Like a minesweeper, the ray glides over the sand in search of crustaceans, a favorite food. It uses special sensors to detect tiny electrical signals emitted by the shellfish buried in the sand. A frenzied flutter of the wings pins down its prey. Unlike most stingrays, the blue-spotted ray doesn't bury itself in the sand. Instead, it flaunts its vibrant spots, a warning sign to predators that it's armed with a venomous tail. This blue-spotted stingray is missing its stinger. It was likely bitten off by a shark. This ray may have fended off the attacker this time, but has forever lost its best defense. Its stinger will never regenerate. This ray will need to be extra cautious to survive. Staying alive on the reef is hard. Spawning to produce the next generation is even harder. Protective parents, like clownfish, secure their eggs on coral close to home. The male stands guard until they hatch. A nearby patch of coral suddenly erupts with life. Vibrant fish of all shapes and sizes swarm together, weaving in and out of crevices and cracks. They have found another fish's spawn. Without a parent standing guard, eggs become an easy meal for smaller predators. These juvenile catfish are a target for larger fish. They hide inside the nooks and crannies of the reef to survive the night. As the sun goes down, tracks in the sand lead to a mother whose ancestors have roamed the seas for 65 million years. A green sea turtle. She's dug a nest about 3 feet deep and is ready to lay her eggs. She lays about 100 eggs. Over her lifetime, she'll lay several thousand, She buries the eggs to keep them safe from predators. She will spend the next hour shoveling sand over the dugout to ensure her nest is well masked. Monitor lizards will target her nest for a quick, easy meal. But on most beaches, turtle nests face a far greater threat: poachers. Turtle eggs are considered a delicacy. Some Indonesian cultures believe that eating eggs can increase fertility. Others consume them for their perceived high nutritional value. Mark and his team at Conservation International work with locals to protect targeted nesting beaches.
They will patrol the beach on a constant rotation, looking for any turtles coming up. If they find a nest, they'll mark it. They're, of course, also making sure that there's no poachers coming. For the last decade, we've been funding the Papua Sea Turtle Foundation and their patrol efforts there, and they have literally stopped the poaching completely. Year on year, they're seeing 15 to 20% increases in the number of nesting females coming back to that beach.
This mother has done all she can for her young and must head back into the ocean. After 2 months, she's likely somewhere deep in the Pacific. But her young are ready to take their first steps under the watchful eye of their guardians. Instinct drives the hatchlings to make a break for the ocean as fast as they can. The young turtles are drawn to the natural light that peers over the ocean's horizon. It acts as a roadmap, leading them into the water. Other cues like crests of waves and the natural slope of the beach guide them to the sea, even if they do take a few wrong turns along the way. On this beach, the hatchlings are protected from their natural predators. The only obstacle that faces these tiny turtles is their own clumsiness. For most hatchlings, the beach is a dangerous place. And nowhere do they face more peril than here. Komodo Island, home to the world's largest lizard, the Komodo dragon. The 10-foot-long dragon forages the beach in search of food. And turtle eggs are a favorite. When Komodo dragons can't scavenge, they hunt. They aren't especially swift hunters, but all it takes is one bite and a bit of patience. Toxic bacteria in the Komodo's saliva kills large prey in a matter of days. Komodo dragons spend most afternoons lazing on the beach. They're excellent swimmers, but strong currents contain their movements to Komodo and 4 nearby islands. Indonesia is bound by 2 mighty oceans. The waters of the Pacific rise a foot above the Indian Ocean. This discrepancy drives one of the most powerful currents on Earth, the Indonesian through flow. The constant flow of water brings new life. Currents deliver larvae and eggs, populating the reef with a rich diversity of corals and fish. Upwellings cloud the water with plankton. These tiny organisms and plants drift in the current, supplying food to the reef's inhabitants. Filter feeders of all shapes and sizes feast on the soupy, nutrient-rich ocean water. Manta rays swim to the surface to feed. These gentle giants glide through the ocean, using their wide mouths to strain plankton from the water. Down on the seabed, competition for leftovers is fierce. But what these bottom dwellers lack in mobility, they make up for in ingenuity. A tiny porcelain crab spreads the bristles of its claws to comb through plankton that falls to the seabed. A sea apple cucumber extends its tentacles into the current to collect passing plankton. Like an arm, its left tentacle brings food into its mouth. Those attached permanently to the reef have to work harder for their food. A sponge filters water through the walls of its hollow body. It will need to pump 1 ton of water to get just 1 ounce of food. These wispy tentacles attached to the sea sponge are actually living organisms. These are feather stars, named for their delicate tentacles that sway in the current, like feathers billowing in a breeze. Feather stars attach to the reef to filter feed. They use their long tentacles to trap passing plankton. But they can also swim if they're spooked. Feather stars are one of the least understood living marine organisms. Like a spider crawling through water, the feather star propels its arms in coordinated strokes. Eventually, it settles on the seabed and searches for a safer shelter. At the surface, the plankton feast has attracted the biggest eater of all, a leviathan that rises from the deep. The whale shark. For the largest fish in the ocean, keeping a diet of microscopic organisms is a full-time job. A whale shark spends 8 hours a day eating. It filters 1,500 gallons of water each hour to retain 3 to 6 pounds of food, roughly the amount a human eats in a day. To consume so much food so efficiently, whale sharks use a technique called suction feeding. Like a giant vacuum cleaner, it sucks huge gulps of water into a mouth large enough to swallow a bathtub. Its gills are like strainers. They remove the water and keep the food. Whale sharks share the bays of Indonesia with fishermen. Many of the fishing nets are in bad condition, enticing these giants with a free lunch. An enterprising whale shark vacuums up smaller fish that escape the net. All this activity makes the bay an ideal location for the Conservation International team to tag these resident whale sharks.
The whale shark in Indonesia usually congregates on the lift net fisherman's platform. They used to accidentally been caught by the lift net when the fishermen bring it up.
A whale shark is trapped in the net. The researchers must move fast to attach a satellite tag to the animal. They use bolts to mount the tag directly onto its fin. A new strategy used by many researchers to ensure the tags stay securely attached. The dorsal fin of a whale shark has very few nerve endings. Much like cutting a fingernail, the procedure is painless for the animal. This whale shark is ready to be released. Its tag will transmit a ping each time the animal surfaces, alerting the team of its location every 2 to 5 days. Over time, Conservation International will be able to assemble a much clearer pattern of a whale shark movement in the bay.
We can see that this aggregation site is basically a nursery areas for the whale sharks. And this tagging has been showing that indications. So that is absolutely a revelation towards these populations, but we still have plenty of work to do to actually confirm those theories.
For now, where these ocean wanderers go when they leave Indonesia's bay remains a mystery. From the largest fish in the ocean to some of the smallest, Indonesia's warm seas teem with the world's highest variety of marine life.
The habitat diversity in Raja Ampat is just extreme. There's so many different special microhabitats as you move across Raja Ampat. Everything from current-swept points, very protected lagoons. You have massive Pacific swell, and they're just rocky reefs that go down. Each one of those has their own suite of species that are found there, and so when you put that all together for all of Raja Ampat, it adds up to a massive number.
If I could describe all marine lives and marine habitats in Indonesia, it would be amazingly beautiful, yet threatened.
After more than 35 years as the world's largest exporter of shark and ray parts, Indonesia's government is taking a strong stand against shark finning and overfishing.
We've seen really an awakening about the need for conservation. Over the 15 years I've been diving here, I've been watching the shark populations recover and rebound, which is something which is really reason for hope, I would say.
Today, the country's 100-plus protected marine zones make up a maritime sanctuary that covers nearly 62,000 square miles. But there's still a lot of work to do. 62,000 square miles represents just 5% of Indonesia's oceans. On this coral reef, conservationists fight a daily battle. A battle that may determine the future of what remains for now, the Amazon of the seas.